had given him a precocity on which the earnest efforts of a series of private tutors had expended themselves in vain. They came full of optimism and self-confidence, to retire after a brief interval shattered by the boy's stodgy resistance to education in any form or shape. To Mr. Pett, never at his ease with boys, Ogden Ford was a constant irritant. He disliked his stepson's personality, and he more than suspected him of stealing his cigarettes. It was an additional annoyance that he was fully aware of the impossibility of ever catching him at it. Mr. Pett resumed his journey. He had interrupted it for a moment to listen at the door of the morning-room, but a remark in a high-tenor voice about the essential Christianity of the poet Shelley filtering through the oak, he had moved on. Silenced from behind another door farther down the passage encouraged him to place his fingers on the handle, but a crashing chord from an unseen piano made him remove them swiftly. He roamed on, and a few minutes later the process of elimination had brought him to what was technically his own private library, a large soothing room full of old books, of which his father had been a great collector. He stood outside the door, listening tensely. He could hear nothing. He went in, and for an instant experienced that ecstatic thrill which only comes to elderly gentlemen of solitary habit, who in a house full of their juniors find themselves alone at last. Then a voice spoke, shattering his dream of solitude. "Hello, Pop!" Ogden Ford was sprawling in a deep chair in the shadows. "Come in, Pop. Come in. Lots of room." Mr. Pett stood in the doorway, regarding his stepson with a sombre eye. He resented the boy's tone of easy patronage, all the harder to endure with philosophic calm at the present moment from the fact that the latter was lounging in his favourite chair. Even from an aesthetic point of view, the sight of the bulging child offended him. Ogden Ford was round and blobby and looked overfed. He had the plethoric habit of one to whom wholesome exercise is a stranger, and the sallow complexion of the confirmed candy fiend. Even now, a bare half-hour after breakfast, his jaws were moving with a rhythmical champing motion. "What are you eating, boy?" demanded Mr. Pett, his disappointment turning to irritability. "Candy." "I wish you would not eat candy all day." "Mother gave it to me," said Ogden simply. As he had anticipated, the shot silenced the enemy's battery. Mr. Pett grunted, but made no verbal comment. Ogden celebrated his victory by putting another piece of candy in his mouth. "Got a grouch this morning, haven't you, Pop?" "I will not be spoken to like that." "I thought you had," said his stepson complacently. "I can always tell. I don't see why you want to come picking on me, though. I've done nothing." Mr. Pett was sniffing suspiciously. "You've been smoking." "Me?" "Smoking cigarettes." "No, sir." "There are 2 butts in the ashtray." "I didn't put 'em there." "One of them is warm." "It's a warm day." "You dropped it there when you heard me come in." "No, sir. I've only been here a few minutes. I guess one of the fellows was in here before me. They're always swiping your coffin nails. You ought to do something about it, Pop. You ought to assert yourself." A sense of helplessness came upon Mr. Pett. For the 1000th time he felt himself baffled by this calm, goggle-eyed boy who treated him with such supercilious coolness. "You ought to be out in the open air this lovely morning," he said feebly. "All right, let's go for a walk. I will if you will." I have other things to do," said Mr. Pett, recoiling from the prospect. "Well, this fresh air stuff is overrated anyway. Where's the sense of having a home if you don't stop in it?" "When I was your age, I'd have been out on a morning like this, bowling my hoop." "And look at you now." "What do you mean?" "Martyr to lumbago." "I am not a martyr to lumbago," said Mr. Pett, who was touchy on the subject. "Have it your own way. All I know is—" "Never mind. I'm only saying what Mother—" "Be quiet." Ogden made further researches in the candy box. "Have some, Pop?" "No."